With summer closing down and schedules ramping up, finding time to work out feels almost impossible. But with Tonal, you get fitness that fits your life. Tonal lets you train at home, combining the convenience of a full gym with the expertise of an always-on personal trainer in one sleek system. Zero drive time, zero wait time. Tonal is designed to reduce your mental load, too, trading your workout planning for the workout doing that delivers results. No more second-guessing your technique. Tonal gives you real-time coaching cues to dial in your form and help you maximize every rep. No wasted time, no wasted effort. After a quick assessment, Tonal delivers personalized resistance that adjusts automatically as you get stronger to keep you challenged. And Tonal tracks your progress to take the guesswork out of working out, whether you're choosing an expert-led strength, arrow hit, yoga, or mobility workout. Want to see how Tonal can help you maximize fitness in minimal time? Try Tonal now at Old Orchard to experience the ultimate strength training system firsthand. And with both hands, Tonal at Old Orchard is ready when you are.
I'm no tech genius, but I knew if I wanted my business to crush it, I needed a website now. Thankfully, Bluehost made it easy. I customized, optimized, and monetized everything exactly how I wanted with AI. In minutes, my site was up. I couldn't believe it. The search engine tools even helped me get more site visitors. Whatever your passion project is, you can set it up with Bluehost. With their 30-day money-back guarantee, what do you got to lose? Head to Bluehost.com. That's BLUEHOST.com to start now.
Hey everyone, this is your host, Peter Zablocki, and you're listening to the History Shorts podcast. I hope everyone's having a great day so far, and thank you so much for making this show a small part of that. If you'd like to help me out with a small gesture, please leave History Shorts a rating or a review, and click that subscribe button if you haven't already done so. For sources and books used as the basis for these episodes, how to advertise on a show, and other information such as a list of our upcoming guests on the Conversation series, or a link to our Patreon account where you can listen to exclusive episodes not heard here, please visit www.historyshortspodcast.com. Today's episode is brought to you by the Podcast Republic, your ultimate podcast listening app. Discover and subscribe to thousands of podcasts from around the globe, all in one place. Download Podcast Republic now and take your podcast experience to the next level. Having said all of that, the figure of Hercules occupies a singular place in the pantheon of classical mythology. Unlike the more static figures of gods and titans, Hercules is defined by action, the relentless pursuit of impossible tasks, and the consequences of moral fallibility intertwined with divine favor. Hercules' story, though often treated as mythic entertainment, reflects deeply rooted cultural, moral, and social paradigms of ancient Greece. It illuminates how the Greeks understood heroism, divine intervention, and human resilience. Among the narratives attributed to Hercules, none is more enduring or emblematic than the cycle of 12 labors, a series of superhuman tasks that not only tested his physical prowess, but also his moral fortitude and ingenuity. Here is the rest of that story.
Yesterday, December 7th, 1941,
it's one small step for man, one giant leap for mankind.
Mr. Gorbachev, tear down this wall.
Hercules was the son of Zeus, king of the Olympian gods, and Alcmene, a mortal woman of noble lineage. The circumstances of his birth immediately embroiled him in divine politics. Hera, Zeus's wife, was incensed by her husband's infidelity and the resultant conception of a demigod. Her wrath manifested not only in supernatural opposition to Hercules throughout his life, but also in the early tragedies that defined his mortal experience. It was Hera's actions that ultimately set the stage for the 12 labors, precipitated by a catastrophic episode in which Hercules, driven temporarily insane by the goddess, killed his own wife and their children. Seeking atonement for his crime, Hercules consulted the Delphic oracle, whose pronouncements were considered the supreme instrument of divine guidance in classical Greece. The Pythia at Delphi instructed him to enter the service of King Eurystheus, who would assign him a series of tasks designed to cleanse his soul and demonstrate the capacity of a mortal to endure trials that approached the scale of the gods themselves. The first labor, the slaying of the Nemean lion, epitomizes the dual challenges of Hercules' undertakings: physical danger and the necessity of cunning. The lion, described as possessing a hide impervious to mortal weaponry, terrorized the region of Nemea, preying upon livestock and challenging the local authority. Hercules confronted the beast directly, and when conventional weapons proved useless, he relied upon sheer strength and tactical ingenuity, ultimately strangling the creature with his bare hands. The act of skinning the lion, using its own claws, further reinforced a recurring motif in the labors: the use of intelligence and adaptability to overcome obstacles that brute strength alone could not conquer. Following the Nemean lion, Hercules faced the Lernaean Hydra, a serpentine monster whose regenerative heads symbolize both the persistence of evil and the principle of escalation in problem solving. The Hydra's ability to regrow 2 heads for every one severed was a physical manifestation of the challenges that could overwhelm mortals. Recognizing the futility of solitary effort, Hercules enlisted the aid of his nephew, who cauterized the stumps immediately after decapitation. This labor demonstrated the integration of collaboration into the heroic paradigm, suggesting that even the most singularly capable individuals will benefit from prudent alliances. The third labor, the capture of the Ceryneian hind, required Hercules to apprehend a golden-horned deer, sacred to the goddess Artemis. Unlike the previous 2 tasks, this labor tested patience, endurance, and restraint rather than sheer force. The hind could not be harmed without incurring the wrath of the goddess, and thus Hercules pursued it across Greece for a full year, demonstrating persistence as a form of moral and physical training. The capture without injury highlights an ethical dimension inherent in the labors themselves, namely that success was not measured solely in achievement, but in the adherence to higher principles, whether that was divine law or societal expectation. Hercules' fourth labor, the capture of Erymanthian Boar, returned to a combination of physical prowess and cunning. The boar, enormous and aggressive, threatened local communities in Arcadia, a region whose rugged terrain mirrored the challenges faced by its would-be heroes. Hercules employed a strategy of driving the creature into deep snow, immobilizing it and allowing for capture. Here, the text of the myth conveys an appreciation for environmental manipulation and tactical thinking, suggesting that the mastery over natural elements was as valued as martial ability in classical heroic ideals. The fifth and sixth labors, cleaning the Eugaean stables and defeating Stymphalian birds, further demonstrate the blend of intellect and strength characteristic of Hercules' endeavors. The stables, housing immense numbers of cattle and neglected for decades, symbolized both physical disgust and moral corruption. Hercules diverted a river to wash the filth away, a solution that was emblematic of Greek admiration for rational ingenuity applied to practical problems. In contrast, the birds were aggressive, man-eating creatures with metallic feathers, and Hercules had to rely upon bronze castanets provided by the goddess Athena to frighten them into flight, enabling their elimination. The seventh labor, the capture of the Cretan bull, further integrated geographic expansion and cross-cultural encounters into the overall narrative of Hercules' heroism. The bull, brought to Crete by Poseidon, represented divine intervention in worldly affairs, and its capture signified mastery over forces beyond ordinary human reach. The eighth labor, the theft of the mares of Diomedes, involved not only physical conquest but also moral confrontation, as the man-eating horse's fatal diet reflected the consequences of human vice and cruelty. Hercules' method, subduing Diomedes himself to pacify the animals, illustrated the principle that leadership and decisiveness are critical components of heroic virtue. The ninth labor, the acquisition of the girdle of Hippolyta, queen of the Amazons, introduced a political dimension to the hero's challenges. The Amazons, a matriarchal warrior society, posed not only a martial threat but also a cultural one, representing alternative social structures that threatened the Greek male-dominated worldview. Initially, Hippolyta consented to gift the girdle to Hercules, but Hera's interference incited conflict, forcing Hercules into combat. The labor thus exemplifies the interplay of diplomacy, persuasion, and coercion, underscoring that heroism in myth was measured not only by physical acts, but also by navigating complex social and divine landscapes. The 10th labor, the capture of the cattle of Geryon, transported Hercules to the far reaches of the known world. Geryon, a monstrous figure with 3 bodies, commanded cattle that were both abundant and emblematic of wealth and status. Hercules' journey, including the crossing of the Libyan desert and the construction of a trophy, an altar of stones, to honor the sun god Helios, reflected the integration of geography, cosmology, and ritual into the heroic narrative. The 11th labor, the retrieval of the golden apples, similarly intertwined divine guardianship and cleverness. The apples, protected by a dragon and tended by nymphs entrusted with sacred objects, required Hercules to combine martial skill with strategic negotiation, ultimately enlisting Atlas, the titan condemned to hold the heavens, to assist in the theft. This labor emphasized not only the hero's resourcefulness, but also the layered relationships between mortals, gods, and primordial beings in Greek cosmology. And finally, the 12th labor, the capture of Cerberus from the underworld, represents the apogee of Hercules' trials. Descending to Hades, the realm of the dead, Hercules confronted not a single monster, but the domain itself, negotiating with Hades, the lord of the underworld, for the release of the 3-headed guardian of the dead. The labor epitomized the intersection of courage, endurance, and piety. Hercules' success in returning Cerberus to the mortal world, unarmed and unharmed, served as a symbolic conquest over death and chaos, illustrating the ultimate expression of human agency within a divinity-ordered universe. Throughout these 12 labors, Hercules embodied both the idealized Greek hero and the complex, often contradictory forces of human nature. His 12 feats were extraordinary and inseparable from the influence of divine caprice, moral reckoning, and ethical challenge. Each labor represents not merely a narrative adventure, but a moral and cultural template, demonstrating virtues such as strength, perseverance, intelligence, and humility before the gods. Moreover, the narrative of the labors functions as a reflection of Greek societal values, the importance of atonement, the integration of personal action with social obligation, and the recognition that human achievement is always measured against divine and cosmic standards. Anyway, thanks for listening. This week on the Conversation series, I speak to Matthew Algeo about his latest work, New York's Secret Subway, the Underground Genius of Albert Beach and the Origins of Mass Transit.
There wasn't a lot of interest, a lot of enthusiasm for investing money in this weird scheme to build a pneumatic tube underground to carry people in the city that was basically the world capital of corruption at the time. He gets the charter to build it in January, March of 1873, and it's just a couple months later that the financial panic hits. And so he was not able to raise money. It definitely delayed the construction of subways in New York. And what happened was, after this plan failed, there was a small elevated railroad line that went up Greenwich Street. And finally, people threw up their arms and said, let's just build elevated railroads. It's easiest to do. You don't have to dig tunnels. They're loud. They're messy. Nobody really liked them. But as a practical matter, they were relatively easy to build. And that's what happened. A lot of people, even New Yorkers, don't realize Manhattan was covered with elevated railroads really until the 1920s. And then when the subway construction began around 1903, then finally the subways replaced the elevated railroads.